Now, good boy Andy, which is the name of our dog, our main character, is the service animal or dog to Todd. Now, Andy is similarly, I don't know how to call him the generational dog, but I don't know, maybe his mom or someone, was Todd's granddad's dog. So, it kind of like inherited kind of, like my dad has a dog, so I have a dog. It's kind of simple. So basically, now the movie begins with what you see like it's an ending. We see Todd is bleeding out from his nose and he's having seizures and he's having calls from someone called Vera. And this person seems to keep calling, and voicemails keep saying, like, oh my God, why would you pick up? Why won't you pick up? At first, I thought Vera was like a girlfriend or wife or something. Eventually, we find out that Vera is actually his sister. Now, here the movie actually finally begins. Vera arrives and calls, ambulance, emergency services, whatever. Now, the main movie begins as we see that, like almost a week later, or a week before rather, we see Todd is, I don't know, fed up with life in the city, and he's like, oh, let me go visit my grandpa. Yes, I want to go visit my grandpa. And he does go visit his grandpa, but, his grandpa's dead, so he goes to visit his grandpa's house. Now, we later find out that grandpa's house and all grandpa's properties, or majority of grandpa's properties, belong to Todd. Simple. You can keep up, right? Okay. Now, in customary fashion, Todd and his sister are not, you're not in the best of terms. I mean, she cares for him. She's doing her best. She calls him like his second mom, but I think he's kind of over it. I don't know. You know how people are. Sometimes we give too much care and attention to them. So he has his sister have that strained relationship, even though she does her best to take care and keep up with him. He is not really into all of it. Sometimes he feels like he's being babied too much or stressed out too much. Oopsie. Now, it is worth noting that during the first time Todd gets to his grandpa's house, it is nighttime. The first strange thing we see was Andy, aka Max, the dog, seeing strange visions of a man behind a car. Now it's raining, so nothing really happens that day, just that Andy is completely scared or shook because he seems to sense some dark presence around the house, which is totally normal. I mean, this is a horror movie after all, so yikes, what is odd? Now, that's the first night, right? Now the next night we see that Todd wakes up and he decides like, hey, I want to go piss in the bush, piss in the forest, and he goes like, okay, this is stupid. But he goes out and does all that in the forest, and then obviously Andy follows him, and then Andy is laying by the side of a dead log and seems to be spoofed out by what's in the log. But before that even starts, we see that Todd vanishes for a while and then reappears, and when he reappears, he's met by his grandpa's friend, who is camouflaged like some, I don't know, military leaf or something. I don't know. The military have this tactic where they dress themselves in leaves in case of enemies so that they don't be seen so easily. It's camouflage. It's basic science. It's simple. Now, I must say, the movie doesn't really pick up until we start seeing like second day. Like after the bush scene, when Todd goes home, well, first before he goes home, he goes to meet his grandpa's friend, collects a generator, because obviously the house is abandoned, dilapidated, it is old as hell, there's no electricity, so, he needs electricity. So, gets the generator, great, puts some fuel in on it, it's good, it's working. Well, it doesn't quite work as easily, because Andy is still seeing these weird visions and is creeped out. Todd is Todd. He's being sweet, nice, and I like the way that the directors, whatever, the filmmakers did the movie. They actually did shoot it in the sense of seeing it from a dog's perspective. So even though we didn't get to see like the owners of the dog more humans facially, like especially towards the end of the movie, we saw them more than towards like majority of the movie. So it felt very authentic to the point of view of the dog. Now, in continuing, by the third day, Todd decides that, hey, I'm gonna go to work today, and he goes. He leaves Andy in charge of the house, as should be, right? Now, Andy's home, and he's, like, scared and creeped out. Now, he stares at this window all day, all night, until he seems to hallucinate and see another dog guide him towards the stairwell. Now, he goes to the stairwell, and he's creeped out even more, and this dark presence seems to be materializing, seems to be forming some human essence, like a skeleton or a dead person refusing to die. It's weird. Okay, so he is creeped out as hell, like very creeped out. Now, in all this, eventually, I believe he gets so creeped out to the point that he feels like this dark presence is coming to attack him, and he runs under the bed. And then he realizes it's actually Todd, and comes out, Hawk's Todd. But then we actually see the first impact of the demon or the evil presence on Todd. Todd seems to have some injuries from wherever he went, and he's seemingly tired. I don't know what happened to him, but he's tired and he doesn't want to talk with or play with Andy. And so Andy, for the first 2 days, was sleeping with Todd on the bed. Now this day, Todd now decided that, Andy, your time is up, nigga. Sorry. He decided that, Andy, your time is up, and, Andy should stay on the floor, which is, well, very untoddly. So now, by the 4th day, Todd is still very tired. Andy still continues pestering him, seeing these weird visions, and, but, obviously Todd is a dog owner, and he's like, trying to be nice to Andy and whatever. But as the days progress, soon Todd's illness gets so worse that, okay, let's not spoil that. Now, before that happens, the next day, we see that Andy is, for some reason, rubbing dirt. And so Todd decides, like, oh, let me help my dog wash the dog. And in washing the dog, he coughs out blood and spills some of his own blood from his mouth on Andy. Yikes. So in all that shock, he decides that, hey, let me go to the hospital and finally check on my health. I might be dying soon. So he goes. Now he goes and he's like, oh, why don't you try me on your clinical trials for a new drug or something? And the nurse is like, or the doctor or whatever is in charge in the hospital says, like, this condition is worsened far beyond the abilities of the drug. And for a clinical trial to actually work, which is actually true, you have to be within a certain degree of sickness. I mean, some drugs are for certain conditions that have balance, some are for medium conditions. Like, there are different stages of disease, and this disease is past the stage for which the drug can work. But he doesn't buy that old BS, so he gets mad, and, well, Andy also gets mad as well, and he drops Andy, and, we go on like that. Now, back at home, Andy gets more and more aggressive as he continues to see this ominous figure. Eventually even bites in the hands of Todd, who doesn't like this, and as a result, well, he doesn't play as much anymore with Andy. Okay, simple. I mean, you bit my hand, so obviously I wouldn't want to play with you too much. It's common sense. Now, fast forward, we see that eventually Andy's sense of this ominous person gets so triggered so much so that one day he decides to break out the window, go out the woods. Oh, no, actually, the reason why he did go out the woods was because Todd fell down. Now, this disease was, I say a brain tumor, but, it's a brain tumor. He was, I don't know. The disease condition, I don't think was ever mentioned, but I say a brain tumor because it was coughing blood. It was bleeding nose from his, bleeding from his nose and all that. So I'd say a brain tumor. So worse, super high brain tumor. So he eventually falls down. Andy tries to go get help by running across all the way into the field to where he met that man, Grandpa's friend. Now, unfortunately, he is caught by one of the fox traps that Grandpa's friend sets, and then he's made to sleep there all night. Now, the next morning, he wakes up and he's like, oh my God, scared and he sees that this evil figure, which eventually materializes to see that it's actually Todd. I hope I'm not being too fast. Okay, I'm going to get faster now. Okay, so Todd decides to rescue Andy, but the problem is that night he doesn't allow Andy going to sleep with him. Sleep with him, I sleep on the same bed. Don't be weird. Okay, so in keeping up with that old weirdness, oh God, I'm falling. Keeping up with that old weirdness, we see soon that it's nighttime, it's raining. Todd is inside the house coughing his life out, and I forgot to mention though, Todd and his sister Vera do have an argument on the phone where Todd explicitly explains to her that he feels like he's being babied too much, that she's always too into him, I mean, she's a doctor, but he feels suffocated by her in the sense of too much care, okay? Now, and she wants to come around to go check on him because she feels like the whole place is weird and gives off cuckoo weird vibes, okay? Which I believe from what we're seeing in the movie, she's right. Now, back to Andy and back to present day. Now, Andy is in the rain, watching Todd cough up blood, and eventually he seems like he's trying to go help Todd out, but there's this dark figure which materializes within his own dark cage and tries to drag him out. Eventually he escapes, runs into the house, sees Andy, tries to help Andy. But Andy is far too gone now. Now this is the last segment of the movie. Andy's far too gone. Andy eventually sees himself on the bed, which is not possible because he's touching the dog, but somehow he's on the bed, which doesn't make sense. Now, before he could even grasp whatever was happening, some mystical force drags him across the room, drags him out the house, and we see Andy chase after him. I believe Todd is not talking about it. So Andy chases after Todd, and eventually we see that the evil figure comes out from some sewer and materializes and fully engulfs Todd. And the engulfing of Todd seems to be confirmed as Todd is turned into some muddy man, mud mash man. Okay. Todd then tells Andy that Andy's a good dog, and well, what else can Andy do? I mean, he literally saved Todd from drowning in some sewer. Like, the dog literally dragged Todd out. Like, come on, that's a lot of work. I mean, you've been surveying the house, and it's weird, and you're doing so much. So, there's only so much a person can do, and even so much less a dog can do. So, duh. Now, for my reviews on the movie, I feel like eventually at the end, I'd say obviously is where we get to in the beginning, where we see that Vera comes home, sees that Todd is bleeding from the nose, and eventually calls the ambulance, which I don't really think will do much because at this point he's already plagued. So, you know. Okay, so for my review of the movie, I feel like I like the perspective from which they shot it at. It was very, how would I put this? It was very, oh god, my pants tore. Oh god, no, don't see my balls. This is so weird, but I feel like it was very thriller and not horror-ish. Like it because most of the scary parts of the movie were more about Andy's premonitions and visions and dreams, which I don't know if dogs can dream, but I mean, science says that the average dog has an intelligence of about 2-year-old to 3-4-year-old, so maybe a dog can dream. I don't know, but I think those are the scary parts of the movie. Andy's dream and his premonitions, his visions, scary part. For the thing or the dark force materializing, if you're a 5-year-old scared of the dark, or maybe you're claustrophobic because the house is really small in a sense, maybe you might get scared. But generally, it's not really a scary movie like that. Like, it's a good movie. Great movie. Max, aka Andy the dog, really did great. The editors, the antler, everybody did their part. It was a great movie, but I feel like if you're looking for something that will give you some big fight scare, you're gonna watch the wrong thing. But if you're like you have teenagers or kids around you, want something that gives them like a good night scare, yeah, it's a good movie. But for an adult like me, 20 years old, it was more like a subtle watch. It was great. Yeah, toodles.